10.18 Burial Hymn.
This evocative hymn contains several references to symbolic gestures that may well have been accompanied by rituals similar to those known to us from later Vedic literature. But the human concerns of the hymn are vividly accessible to us, whatever the ritual may have been. Go away, death, by another path that is your own, different from the road of the gods. I say to you, who have eyes, who have ears, do not injure our children or our men. When you have gone, wiping away the footprint of death, stretching farther your own lengthening span of life, become pure and clean and worthy of sacrifice, swollen with offspring and wealth. These who are alive have now parted from those who are dead. Our invitation to the gods has become auspicious today. We have gone forward to dance and laugh, stretching farther our own lengthening span of life. I set up this wall for the living, so that no one else among them will reach this point. Let them live 100 full autumns and bury death in this hill. As days follow days in regular succession, as seasons come after seasons in proper order, in the same way order their lifespans, O arranger, so that the young do not abandon the old. Climb onto old age, choosing a long lifespan, and follow in regular succession as many as you are. May Tavastra, who presides over good births, be persuaded to give you a long lifespan to live. These women who are not widows, who have good husbands, let them take their places, using butter to anoint their eyes. Without tears, without sickness, well-dressed, let them first climb into the marriage bed. Rise up, woman, into the world of the living. Come here. You are lying beside a man whose life's breath has gone. You were the wife of this man who took your hand and desired to have you. I take the bow from the hand of the dead man to be our supremacy and glory and power, and I say, you are there, we are here. Let us, as great heroes, conquer all envious attacks. Creep away to this broad, vast earth, the mother that is kind and gentle. She is a young girl, soft as wool to anyone who makes offerings. Let her guard you from the lap of destruction. Open up, earth, do not crush him. Be easy for him to enter and to burrow in. Earth, wrap him up as a mother wraps a son in the edge of her skirt. Let the earth as she opens up stay firm, for 1,000 pillars must be set up. Let them be houses dripping with butter for him, and let them be a refuge for him here for all his days. I shore up the earth all around you. Let me not injure you as I lay down this clod of earth. Let the fathers hold up this pillar for you. Let Yama build a house for you here. On a day that will come, they will lay me in the earth, like the feather of an arrow. I hold back speech that goes against the grain, as one would restrain a horse with a bridle.
The notes.
The hymn that began by addressing death directly now addresses the company of the mourners. There may have been a ritual to erase the footprints of the mourners, or it may be a simple and straightforward metaphor for the end of mourning. Perhaps a stone to mark the boundary of the world of death. The mound over the grave 0.5 ritually purified butter would be used instead of mascara or eyeshadow to protect the women among the mourners. That is, long before they climb into old age or the grave. The wife of the dead man, who lay down beside him, perhaps miming copulation, as the queen later did with the dead stallion, until called back with this verse, probably only done when the dead man was a warrior. That is, to any generous sacrificer, not merely to someone who makes offerings to the earth. Destruction, nirti, is the female personification of disorder and disintegration, in contrast with the orderly and peaceful aspects of death. The metaphorical house built by Yama for the dead man, perhaps symbolized by the urn containing his bones or his cremated ashes placed in the earth. The dead man is addressed again. An elliptic metaphor, perhaps referring to the way the feather is stuck into the cleft made for it in the arrow, or as a feather floats gently down to earth when it is freed from the arrow, perhaps a reference to the poet's satisfaction in having made a good hymn, or his pleasure in returning now to more auspicious subjects, or a statement that the rest is silence. Most likely, a command to remain silent, lest one say something ill-omened.
10.154 Funeral Hymn.
The hymn begins with a distinction between levels of spiritual attainment, and then asks that the dead man be sent to live among those who are distinguished in one way or another. For some, the soma is purified, others sit down for butter. Those for whom honey flows, let the dead man go away straight to them. those who became invincible through sacred heat, who went to the sun through sacred heat, who made sacred heat their glory, let him go away straight to them. Those who fight in battles as heroes, who sacrifice their bodies, or those who give thousands to the priests, let him go away straight to them. Those who first nursed order, who had order and made order grow great, the fathers full of sacred heat, O Yama, let him go away straight to them. Those inspired poets who know 1,000 ways, who protect the sun, the seers full of sacred heat, O Yama, let him go away to those who are reborn through sacred heat.
The notes.
A distinction between the foods of the gods and the dead fathers. Cf 10.140.3. And 10.1350.1. Though both groups eat both foods, soma is ambrosia for the gods, while butter is human food for the semi-divine fathers. As honey, soma, is better than butter, the dead man hopes to go to the gods. Tapas, the heat generated by religious activity. CFS 10.19.
10.135, The Boy and the Chariot.
Though this hymn is traditionally dedicated to Yama, Yama appears only in the first and last verses, which are closely related, framing an allegory of the secret of death. The plot, though obscure, seems to be something like this. The father of a young boy has died, and the boy mentally follows the journey of his father to the realm of Yama, grieving and trying to get him to return. The hymn does not necessarily imply that the boy himself dies, or even wants to die. The voice of the father answers the boy, saying that the chariot that the boy has built in his imagination to follow his father is already, unknown to the boy, bringing him after the father. This chariot is the funeral sacrifice or the oblation or the funeral fire that carries the corpse to Yama and the fathers. It is, at the same time, a manifestation of the boy's own wish to see his father. The final verse gives a vision of paradise, perhaps to reassure the boy. The sun. Beneath the tree with beautiful leaves where Yama drinks with the gods, there our father, the head of the family, turns with longing to the ancient ones. Reluctantly, I looked upon him as he turned with longing to the ancient ones, as he moved on that evil way. I longed to have him back again. What you did was valiant. In your mind, my son, you made a new chariot without wheels, which had only one shaft but can travel in all directions, and unseeing, you climbed into it. My son, when you made the chariot roll forth from the priests, there rolled after it a chant that was placed from there upon a ship. Who gave birth to the boy? Who made the chariot roll out? Who could tell us today how the gift for the journey was made? How was the gift for the journey made? The beginning arose from it. First they made the bottom, and then they made the way out. This is the dwelling place of Yama, that is called the home of the gods. This is his reed pipe that is blown, and he is the one adorned with songs.
The notes.
Cf 1.164 for the mystic symbolism of the chariot that is the sacrifice, with no wheels and one shaft, 10.13, 5.3, and Cf 10.16 for the funeral fire. In later Sanskrit, the chariot of the mind, Manoratha, is a word for wish. Cf October 85th, 12 for a chariot made of thought. This hymn may be the kernel of the famous myth of Nacicatus, in which a boy travels to the realm of death and converses with death and with his father. But the present hymn cannot be interpreted as if it were already an expression of that complex myth, the dead ancestors in the realm of Yama. Zutta 10.14, the path of death, probably not hell, but Zutta 10.710.9 in October 85th 30. Literally, not seeing the chariot that you are mounting. Symbolically not understanding the power of the sacrifice. The priests compose the funerary hymns which accompany the corpse, and which are thus carried by the chariot and by a ship, both metaphors for the sacrifice and the oblation that the priests send away from them. Probably equipment with which the deceased was supplied for the journey to Yama's abode. See prior to 10.1, see point 8.1 to 8.8, here identified with the chant placed on the sacrificial chariot. The word here translated gift for the journey, anudayi, occurs only once more in the Rig Veda to describe the woman who accompanies the bride on her journey to the groom's house. This verse is simultaneously a literal description of the chariot and a figurative reference to the chant with its opening and closing phrases.
10.58 A spell to turn back the departing spirit.
This imprecation to the Mafia's heart, mind, and life, spirit may have been spoken over a dead man or to a man on the brink of death, to keep the spirit within the body. The central verses refer alternately to earth, 3:5-7-9, and sky, 4-6-8. If your spirit has gone to Yama, the son of Vivasvan, far away, we turn it back to you here to dwell and to live. If your spirit has gone to the sky or to the earth far away, we turn it back to you here to dwell and to live. If your spirit has gone to the four-cornered earth far away, we turn it back to you here to dwell and to live. If your spirit has gone to the four quarters of the sky far away, we turn it back to you here to dwell and to live. If your spirit has gone to the billowy ocean far away, we turn it back to you here to dwell and to live. If your spirit has gone to the flowing streams of light far away, we turn it back to you here to dwell and to live. If your spirit has gone to the waters or to the plants far away, we turn it back to you here to dwell and to live. If your spirit has gone to the sun or to the dawns far away, we turn it back to you here to dwell and to live. If your spirit has gone to the high mountains far away, we turn it back to you here to dwell and to live. If your spirit has gone to this whole moving universe far away, we turn it back to you to dwell and to live. If your spirit has gone to distances beyond the beyond, far away, we turn it back to you to dwell and to live. If your spirit has gone to what has been and what is to be, far away, we turn it back to you to dwell and to live.
The elements of sacrifice.
All the hymns of the Rig Veda are ritual hymns in some sense, since all were sung as part of the Vedic ceremony, but some are self-consciously devoted to the meaning of the ritual. Even here, pride of place is given to the verbal rather than to the physical aspect of the sacrifice. The origins of sacred speech, 10.125. The personal concerns of the priests also inspire considerable interest in the authors of the hymns. The priest whose patron is the king, 10.173, laments the loss of his royal friend, 10.33, and praises faith and generosity, 10.151 and 10.117. While other priests, more securely employed, express their happiness in a hymn that is lively to the point of bawdiness, 10.101-CF, 7.13 and 9.112. The meaning of the sacrifice is explored in a hymn that unites all of these themes and expresses them in the form of a series of riddles about the meaning of life. 1.164.
The notes.
TFF, especially 10.9, 10.13, 9.112, and the hymns to Agni and Soma.
10.71 The origins of sacred speech.
This hymn speaks of the origins of the sacred word, speech or language, Vak, F, a goddess, and of its ritual recreation through the verbal contests of the Vedic sacrifice. The social nature of speech is emphasized, the birth of speech in friendship and its use by all of the assembly, Veda 10, and by the four priests with their individual functions, Veda 11. The enemy of true speech is represented as the rival of the author of this hymn, Vishaspati, 1, Braspati, 1. When they set in motion the first beginning of speech, giving names, their most pure and perfectly guarded secret was revealed through love. When the wise ones fashioned speech with their thought, sifting it as grain is sifted through a sieve, then friends recognized their friendships. A good sign was placed on their speech. Through the sacrifice they traced the path of speech and found it inside the sages. They held it and portioned it out to many. Together the seven singers praised it. One who looked did not see speech, and another who listens does not hear it. It reveals itself to someone as a loving wife, beautifully dressed, reveals her body to her husband. One person, they said, has grown awkward and heavy in this friendship. They no longer urge him forward in the contests. He lives with falsehood like a milkless cow, for the speech that he has heard has no fruit, no flower. A man that abandons a friend who has learned with him no longer has a share in speech. What he does hear, he hears in vain, for he does not know the path of good action. Friends have eyes and ears, but their flashes of insight are not equal. Some are like ponds that reach only to the mouth or shoulder, Others are like ponds that one could bathe in. When the intuitions of the mind are shaped in the heart, when Brahmins perform sacrifices together as friends, some are left behind for lack of knowledge, while others surpass them with the power to praise. Those who move neither near nor far, who are not real Brahmins nor pressers of the soma, using speech in a bad way, they weave on a weft of rags without understanding. All his friends rejoice in the friend who emerges with fame and victory in the contest. He saves them from error and gives them food. He is worthy to be pushed forward to win the prize. One sits bringing to blossom the flower of the verses. Another sings a song in the Sakvari Mitra. One, the Brahmin, proclaims the knowledge of the ancient ways. Another lays out the measure of the sacrifice. The notes. This epithet, that literally means Lord of Sacred Speech, is particularly appropriate here, as Brahaspati is the patron of speakers and inspired poets, the first poets and seers. The soma juice is purified by being filtered through a sieve. The Hotra priest sits motionless and invokes the gods. The Udgatar sings. The Brahmin must make sure that no mistakes are committed, and the Advayu is responsible for ritual activities like pressing the soma, as in V9, and measuring the sacrificial area.
10.125 Speed.
A paean of self-praise to and by speech, in a more personified form than in 10.71, but implicit in various forms of speech. Sacrificial, Viv 2, 3, 5, agonistic, Viv 4. The latter enabling speech to become identified with the Creator, VV.7, and the Absolute Godhead, encompassing all gods, VV.8. Speech is never mentioned by name in the hymn, never actually spoken herself. I move with the Rudras, with the Vasus, with the Adityas and all the gods. I carry both Mitra and Varuna, both Indra and Agni and both of the Asvins. I carry the swelling Soma and Tvastar and Pusan and Bhaga. I bestow wealth on the pious sacrificer who presses the Soma and offers the oblation. I am the queen, the confluence of riches, the skillful one who is first among those worthy of sacrifice. The gods divided me up into various parts, for I dwell in many places and enter into many forms. The one who eats food, who truly sees, who breathes, who hears what is said, does so through me. Though they do not realize it, they dwell in me. Listen, you whom they have heard. What I tell you should be heeded. I am the one who says by myself what gives joy to gods and men. Whom I love I make awesome. I make him a sage, a wise man, a Brahmin. I stretch the bow for Rudra so that his arrow will strike down the hater of prayer. I incite the contest among the people. I have pervaded sky and earth. I gave birth to the Father on the head of this world. My womb is in the waters, within the ocean. From there I spread out over all creatures and touched the very sky with the crown of my head. I am the one who blows like the wind, embracing all creatures. Beyond the sky, beyond this earth, so much have I become in my greatness.
The notes.
Literally, one who is heard or who is famous. A triple pun on the root, hear in listen, they have heard and heeded. Cf. the Greek kluin, akluin. Perhaps a verbal contest rather than an actual battle, though the first part of the verse makes the second meaning possible also.
10.173 Royal Consecration.
This hymn establishes the king upon his throne and makes his future reign secure, playing upon the word dhruvam, firm or steadfast, which recurs like the refrain in a magic spell. The hymn, part of an elaborate royal consecration ritual, Rahasuya, would be accompanied by an oblation of soma and perhaps by certain magic rituals. The same verses in the Atharva Veda used as an imprecation against earthquakes. I have brought you here, remain among us. Stay steadfast and unwavering. Let all the people want you, and let the kingship never fall away from you. Stay right here, do not slip away, but stay unwavering, like a mountain. Stand steadfast here, like Indra, and here uphold the kingdom. Indra has supported him firmly with a firm oblation. Let Soma and Brahmanaspati also speak up for him. Firm is the sky, and firm the earth, and firm are these mountains. Firm is all this world, and firm is this king of all the people. Steadfast let King Varuna. Steadfast the god Brahaspati. Steadfast let Indra and Agni maintain your steadfast kingship. With a firm oblation we touch the firm Soma. Thus let Indra make all the people who bring tribute yours alone.
10.3 3 Lament of the Aged Priest.
A bard has lost his patron, King Kurusarvana, whose son, Upamasravas, has succeeded to the throne and no longer employs the old man. The bard invokes Indra, the quintessential generous patron, tries to arouse the young king's pity, and even employs veiled threats to avenge the, perhaps untimely, death of the old king, TI-8. Finally, he is resigned to his fate, VB9. The harnessers of the people have harnessed me. I carry Pusan along the way. All the gods protected me. Then a cry arose. An evil taskmaster is coming. My ribs encircle me with pain like rival wives. Poverty, nakedness, weakness bind me. My mind flutters here and there like a bird. As rats gnaw at their tails, cares gnaw at me, your singer of praises, O Lord of 100 powers. Have mercy on us once more, generous Indra, and be like a father to us. As a sage I chose as my king Kurusarvana, the descendant of Trayadasu, most generous to those who offer prayer, whose 3 bays carry me in this chariot toward better times. I will praise him who gave 1,000 cows to the priests, Upamasravas's father, whose words were sweet as a field, a delight to the one who lives on it. Upamasravas, his son and grandson of Mitratithi, remember I am the one who sang the praises of your father. If I had power over the immortals or over mortals, my generous patron would be alive. No one lives beyond the decree of the gods, not even if he has 100 souls, so I am parted from my companion.
The notes.
Perhaps the gods are meant, as they are said to have protected the singer. The singer, who imagines himself as the horse harnessed to the king's chariot, further imagines Pusan, the charioteer of the gods, riding in it, an epithet of Indra. Now that the tables are turned, the old king being dead, the singer is himself in the chariot, pulled by he king's horses that are all he has left of his patronage. Perhaps a subtle hint to Upamasravas to do the same, perhaps another name for Trasadasya, the ancestor of Kurusravana. The name Gurus Panasara, meaning guest of a friend, has significance for the poet. Atman is the soul or the breath of life, as we might say that a cat has 9 lives.
10.1 The Sacrificial Priests.
This hymn is a kind of work song for priests, likening their ritual work to the work of the farmers in the field, as well as to other occupations such as weaving, V2, and chariot racing, V7, and pastimes such as sexual play, V1, V2. Wake up with one mind, my friends, and kindle the fire, you many who share the same nest. I call Dadhaikra and Agnian the goddess dawn, all joined with Indra to help you. Make your thoughts harmonious, stretch them on the loom, make a ship whose oars will carry us across. Make the weapons ready and set them in place. Drive the sacrifice forward, my friends. Harness the plow and stretch the yoke on it. Sow the seed in the prepared womb. And if the hearing of our song is weighty enough, then the ripe crop will come nearer to the scythes. The inspired poets who know how, harness the plow and stretch the yokes on either side to win favor among the gods. Make the buckets ready and fasten the straps well. We want to draw water from the fountain that is easy to draw water from, flowing freely, inexhaustible. I draw water from the fountain whose buckets are in place, with good straps, easy to draw water from, freely flowing and inexhaustible. Keep the horses happy and you will win the stake. Make your chariot into the vehicle of good fortune. Drink at the fountain that has somovats for buckets, a pressing stone for its wheel, a consecrated goblet for its casing. This is the fountain where men drink. Make an enclosure, for this is a drink for men. Stitch the breastplates thick and broad. Make iron forts that cannot be breached. Make your goblet strong so that nothing will flow out. I turn toward our cause here, your sacrificial attention, gods, your divine thought that is disposed toward sacrifice and worthy of sacrifice. Let the great cow give us milk in thousands of streams of milk, as if she were walking in a meadow. Pour the tawny one into the lap of wood, Carve it with knives made of stone. Embrace it all around with 10 girths. Yoke the drad animal to the 2 shafts. The drad animal is pressed tight between the 2 shafts, like a man in bed with 2 women. Stand the tree up in the wood. Sink the well deep without digging. The penis, men. Take the penis and move it, and stick it in to win the prize. Inspire Indra, Nistagri's son, to come here to help us, to come eagerly to drink soma.
The notes.
This term denotes companions in general, but here may literally indicate a group of priests who live together. CFF May 2nd 10.0.2, the ship that carries the worshipper to the other shore. Is a common metaphor. Here there may be a pun between ship and shuttle. Little ship in Sanskrit. The weapons are the instruments of the ritual. Here, the priest's work is likened to that of a warrior, as in verse 8. The sacrifice as a chariot, as in verse 7, C.1, C.164, 10.135, etc. That is, if the patrons pay well enough for it, the sacrifice will yield a harvest as rich as a grain harvest in which the plants bend to the scythe. The fountain of inspiration and the well of soma. That is, a walled fortress or a cowpen to protect Soma the bull. A series of martial metaphors follows in this verse. The cow as a symbol of the inspiration implicit in the thought of the gods. Soma, here imagined as a sacrificial animal. The knives of stone are the pressing stones. 6-10-4-3-4.1. The 2 shafts are the 2 hands that hold the soma. The 10 girths are the 10 fingers. A triple entendre. The tree in the wood, forest, is the soma plant in the wooden bowl, and the penis in the womb, the latter simile extended in the last quarter of the verse. That further echoes the imagery of verses 3, 5, 6 and the final verse, a sexual metaphor for soma pressed in the mortar and pestle. Indra is the son of Aditi, who may be called Nistagri, swallow, lower of the rival wife, as she overcomes her rival, Diti Sifi, 10.145.
10.117 in praise of generosity.
This hymn, which seems constructed at least in part out of aphorisms, exhorts the worshipper to be generous, both to the gods, through sacrifice, and to the poet, through patronage, as well as to mankind in general. There is also a self-serving level to the advice. Fortune is fickle, and the man to whom you give now may have given to you in the past, and may do so again. The gods surely did not ordain hunger alone for slaughter. Various deaths reach the man who is well fed. The riches of the man who gives fully do not run out, but the miser finds no one with sympathy. The man with food who hardens his heart against the poor man who comes to him suffering and searching for nourishment, though in the past he had made use of him, he surely finds no one with sympathy. The man who is truly generous gives to the beggar who approaches him, thin and in search of food. He puts himself at the service of the man who calls to him from the road, and makes him a friend for times to come. That man is no friend who does not give of his own nourishment to his friend, the companion at his side. Let the friend turn away from him. This is not his dwelling place. Let him find another man who gives freely, even if he be a stranger. Let the stronger man give to the man whose need is greater. Let him gaze upon the lengthening path. For riches roll like the wheels of a chariot, turning from one to another. The man without foresight gets food in vain. I speak the truth. It will be his death. He cultivates neither a patron nor a friend. The man who eats alone brings troubles upon himself alone. The plow that works the soil makes a man well fed. The legs that walk put the road behind them. The priest who speaks is better than the one who does not speak. The friend who gives freely surpasses the one who does not. 1 foot surpasses 2 foot, and 2 foot leaves 3 foot behind. 4 foot comes at the call of 2 foot, watching over his herds and serving him. The 2 hands, though the same, do not do the same thing. 2 cows from the same mother do not give the same amount of milk. The powers of 2 twins are not the same. 2 kinsmen do not give with the same generosity.
The notes.
The meaning is that hunger does not always kill, and that there are other ways to die. That though the poor are hungry, the rich man should not forget that he too will die, and so he should share his food with the poor and with the gods. The implication is that the man who is now poor was once powerful, and was flattered and used by the man now rich. The next verse emphasizes the need to foresee future reversals of this kind. The path of life still to come, in which many upsets are possible. A return to the theme of the first verse. By hoarding food, one not only does not avoid death, but brings upon oneself the loss of one's future happiness. By committing the sin of greed, he brings upon himself evils such as poverty and hunger. In the Greek riddle of the Sphinx, man walks first on 4 feet, the crawling baby, then on 2 feet, the mature man, and finally on 3 feet, the old man with a cane. In this Indian variant of the riddle, 1 foot is the sun, an enigmatic but widespread Vedic theme, 2 foot the human, 3 foot the old man with a cane, and 4 foot a dog. In later tradition, the 4 ages of man are characterized by the fact that Dharma walks on 4, 3, 2 feet, and 1 foot. As time degenerates,
10.151 Faith.
with faith the fire is kindled, with faith the oblation is offered up, with speech I testify to faith upon the head of happiness. Faith, make this that I have said dear to the man who gives, dear to the man who wishes to give, dear, O faith, among lavish sacrificers. As the gods establish faith among the formidable Asuras, so establish what we have said among lavish sacrificers. The gods who sacrifice and are guarded by Vayu honor faith. With heartfelt intent, they honor faith, and with faith, they find wealth. We call to faith at morning, to faith near midday, to faith when the sun sinks down. Faith, establish faith in us.
The notes.
Asuras are the enemies of the gods, the ancient gods, though perhaps not yet the demons they are in later parts of the Vedas. For the way in which the gods establish faith, in the demons, see 10.124, an almost certainly intended ambiguity. Make us have faith, and make others, the generous worshippers, have faith in us. In the priests, 1.164, the riddle of the sacrifice, Asya Vamasid. This long and complex hymn has inspired many elaborate, detailed glosses and still remains largely obscure. The language, however, is not particularly difficult, and certain major themes merge with sufficient clarity to encourage the translator to present the hymn in a relatively raw state of exegesis, rather than burden the reader with a critical apparatus out of proportion to the poem itself. Those who seek enlightenment on the many points left unglossed are encouraged to pursue the books and articles listed in the bibliography. One reason for the great scholarly attention paid to this hymn is that it is traditionally regarded as a riddle, a tradition that waves a red flag before the eyes of Vedic exegetes. And there are solid grounds for this tradition, for many questions are asked outright in the hymn, and others are hidden in a symbolism that seems deliberately labyrinthine. Yet it seems that the poet thought he knew the answers to some of his questions and posed others merely rhetorically, as questions no one would dream of trying to answer. The reader is thus encouraged to solve those that can be solved and to leave the others unanswered. The hymn demonstrates a unity on 2 distinct but intersecting levels, explicit and implicit. That is, certain tropes emerge repeatedly to express different ideas, and certain ideas emerge repeatedly to be expressed by different tropes. For example, the hymn mentions cows and birds in several verses. The cow may stand for the dawn, who is not explicitly named, or the goddess of speech, who is, and the birds for the sun or the mortal, both explicitly named, while the dawn may also be represented in verses ostensibly about a woman, and the sun in verses about a horse. I will here try to summarize the recurrent tropes and ideas, and devote the notes to particular idiosyncrasies of the individual verses. A central theme on the explicit level is the poet's uncertainty about his knowledge and his joy in experiencing an enlightening vision, VV 37, VCF 6.9. Several verses are questions, some never explicitly answered, 4, 6, 17, 18, 48, and perhaps regarded as unanswerable, an expression of the ineffability of the mystic vision. Others are posed and answered immediately, almost as a catechism. Cantos 34, 5. The poet speaks often of the contrast between those who know and those who do not know the answers. 4, verse 7, 10, 16, 20, 23, 39. Or those who say one thing and those who say another. 12, 16, 19, 38, 46. Elsewhere, he merely expresses his skepticism or grateful acceptance of what they say. 15, 25. The hymn refers often to things that are hidden or secret. 3, 5, 7, 14, 32, 37, 8, 45. Another aspect of the riddle content on the explicit level is the use of deliberate circumlocutions, particularly in association with numbers. Many things come in threes: brothers, 1, knaves of the wheel, 2, 48, stages of the journey, 9, mothers and fathers, 10, kindling sticks, 25, long-haired ones, 44, hidden parts of speech, 45. Closely related to these are the pairs of threes or sixes, realms of space, 6 spokes of the wheel, 12 sets of twins, and these in turn are doubled to produce 12s spokes of the wheel, 11s, shapes of the father, 12, twins, 15, fellies, 48. By further multiplication, we obtain 360, 720 as a doublet of 360. 11. Other things come in fives, feet, 12, and spokes, 13, or tens, forces, 14. 7 is a great favorite. Sons, 1, horses and horses' names, 2, 3, wheels, 3, 12, riders, sisters, and names of cows, 3, threads, half, embryos, 36. A few other numbers occur once, 8, 9, and 1041. 4 appears only once, as an addition to 3, rather than a doublet of 2 in verse 45. A remarkably rare occurrence in a hymn about 4-footed animals and 4-footed verses. Sometimes several different numbers are applied to the same things, spokes being 5 or 6 or 12, horses being 7 or 10, and so forth. This should warn us that it is not possible to make a direct connection between a number and what it symbolizes, though a certain amount of speculation along these lines is possible, as we will see when we consider implicit levels of symbolism in the hymn. Most important of all the numbers are 1 and 2. The 1 as the absolute appears several times, 6, 10, 15, 46, and both it, explicitly, 46, and other things, implicitly, are said to be many as well as 1, the horse, 2, the wheel, 14, 48, and the foot of the cow. 41. 2s form basic oppositions on the explicit level. We have noted the contrast between the wise and the foolish. Another, related to this, is the contrast between the mortal and the immortal, 30, 38, supported by recurrent references to one or the other side of the pair. That which is ageless or undying or unbreaking, 2, 10, 11, 13 to 15, and that which ages and dies, 29, 32. Further contrast between that with bones and that without bones, 4, the near and far sides of the sky, 12, 17, up and down, 1743, 2 bowls, 33 male and female, 16, and past and future, 19, enrich the dialectic structure of the hymn. The most explicit and developed contrast is between the 2 birds, 20 through 22, who occur in other forms as well, as an individual bird, 7, 46, 52, and a group of birds, 51, 47. Related to the birds, as we shall see, are horses, 2, 3, 34, 35, which are in turn related to the chariot, 2, 3, 9, 12, 44, 31, 48, the naves of the chariot pun on the navel of the universe, 33, 5, nabby referring to both terms. By far the most important animal in the hymn is the cow, 7, 9, 17, 26, 940, 44, with her calf, 5, 7, 17, 27, and 8, and bull, 43. The cow is closely related to the images of human procreation. Fathered 1, 218, 22, mother and father 8, 10, 33, referred to as earth and sky explicitly in 33 and implicitly in others such as 51, mother and son, father and son 16, brothers 1, sisters 3, and twins 15, 36. 2 Vedic myths lie behind several verses. The mother bears her son and then abandons him, 9, 17, 32, and the father incestuously procreates with his own daughter, 8. A final explicit image is closely related to the problem of the inspired solution of the riddle. This is the image of the sacrifice. The hymn begins with a priest, 1, and poets who are inspired priests, 5, 6. It speaks of the priest's cow. 9. There are several references to the goddess of sacred speech, 10, 37, 4,549, to hymns, 23, 5, 50, and syllables, 24, 39, 41, 2. Ritual laws, 43, and the order which underlies them, 11, 37, 47. And finally, to the sacrifice itself, 15, 35, 50. How do these interwoven images express meaning in the hymn? On one level, it is clear that the hymn is about the things it is talking about riddles and numbers and wisdom and immortality and birds and chariots and horses and cows and speech and the sacrifice, all of which are described in vividly naturalistic detail. But they are also described in terms that make no sense on a naturalistic level. What chariot could have a single wheel or 5 spokes at the same time as 7 spokes, and it appears that these distortions arise through the identification of several of the images with abstract ideas, particularly the chariot and birds identified with the sun or year or yearly sacrifice or immortal soul, and the cow or the mother identified with dawn or speech. Qualities appropriate to these signified concepts are then reflected back upon the signifiers to stretch the naturalistic image into the realm of pure imagination. That the bird in the hymn is the sun or fire is a conjecture supported by many explicit references to the sunbird in the Rig Veda, 10.123, 10.177, and by references to the sun in this hymn, 1426. Many of the verses seem to refer to the birth of the sun/year/sacrifice/sacrificial fire as a calf begotten by his father, the sky, in his mother, the earth, in the form of a cow, or by the sky in his daughter, the dawn cow. So too, the verses about the mortal and immortal may refer to the death and rebirth of the sun at the end of each day or year. The dead one who wanders with the sacrificial drink, 3038 cf. 0.160.5, or enters destruction when he is within the womb, 32, is the soul of the mortal, or of the mortal son, whose wandering and rebirth are dependent on the enduring qualities of his nature. Since the cow that represents the earth or dawn also stands for the priest's fee, 9, or for the goddess of speech, she serves as a pivot for several symbolic layers. Moreover, there is an extended pun throughout the hymn based on the feet of the cow, 7, 12, 17, 41, and of the sacred verses 23, 24, 41, as well as the footprints or sacrificial traces of the gods, 5, all designated by the term pada. Similarly, the word aksara, which means both syllable and undying, serves as a link between the sacrifice and the immortal sun/soul. 24, 39, 42. Working with these implicit and explicit patterns, it is possible to explain more of the hymn. The sun is often identified with Agni, who is mentioned in the hymn at several points. He is explicitly identified with the one, 46. He appears in 3 forms, 1, and he has flames that are like long hair, 44. Agni lurks behind other images. He is like the sun, the firstborn child of order, 11, 37, 47, or truth, Sif, May 7th, 10, and is born of the waters, 52. The interaction of the sun and the waters makes sense of a number of obscure references to a Vedic theory of the rain cycle. The rays of the sun, cows, drink up earthly waters with the lowest point of the ray, the foot, and then give back rain, milk, from their top. After they carry the moisture back up to the sun, 747, 51, 52. The sun is thus clothed in the waters, 731. The relationship between the sun and the sacrifice, through the concept of the yearly solar renewal and yearly sacrifice, is present in the number symbolism linking the chariot of the sun with the sacrifice, as in the extended metaphor of 10.135, the opening verse of which is echoed in verse 22 of the present hymn. The 7 horses or sons or embryos are 7 priests or offerings. The 3 or 6 or 5 naves or spokes are seasons, variously enumerated in different sacrificial reckonings. The 12 are the months, the 360 the days of the years, the 720 the days and nights in pairs, and so forth. Many particular obscurities remain, of course, and many verses mean several things at once. But when viewed in this overarching framework, the hymn reveals a number of consistent questions and answers expressed through a careful network of highly charged symbols. This beloved gray priest has a middle brother who is hungry and a third brother with butter on his back. In him I saw the Lord of all tribes with his 7 sons. 7 yoke the one-wheeled chariot drawn by 1 horse with 7 names. All these creatures rest on the ageless and unstoppable wheel with 3 naves. 7 horses draw the 7 who ride on this 7-wheeled chariot. 7 sisters call out to he place where the 7 names of the cows are hidden. Who saw the newborn one, the one with bones who was brought forth by the boneless one? Where was the breath and blood and soul of the earth? Who can go to ask this from someone who knows? An ignorant fool, I ask in my mind about the hidden footprints of the gods. Over the young calf, the poet stretched out 7 threads to weave. Unknowing, ignorant, I ask for knowledge about it from the poets who know. What is the one who, in the form of the unborn, propped apart these 6 realms of space? Let him who really knows proclaim here the hidden place of that beloved bird. The cows give milk from his head. Wearing a cloak, they drank water with their feet. The mother gave the father a share in accordance with the order, for at the beginning she embraced him with mind and heart. Recoiling, she was pierced and flowed with the seed of the embryo. The reverent came to praise. The mother was harnessed to the chariot pole of the priest's cow. The embryo remained within the cow pens. The calf lowed and looked for the many-colored cow on the 3 stages of the journey. The one has risen up, holding up 3 mothers and 3 fathers who never wear him down. On the back of the distant sky they speak of speech, who knows all but does not move all. The 12-spoked wheel of order rolls around and around the sky and never ages. 720 suns in pairs rest on it, O Agni. Some say that the Father with his 5 feet and 12 shapes dwells in his fullness in the farther half of the sky. But others here say that the far-seeing one in the 7-wheeled, 6-spoked chariot moves in he near half. All the worlds rest on this 5-spoken wheel that rolls around and around. Though heavy laden, its axle does not get hot, nor has it ever broken in its naves. The unaging wheel rolls out on its rim. The 10-yoked horses draw it up the outstretched path. All the worlds are kept in motion on the eye of the sun, that moves on though shrouded in dark space. They say that besides those born in pairs, there is a 7th born alone, while the 6 sets of twins are the sages born from the gods. The sacrifices for them are firmly set, but they change their forms and waver as he stands firm. They are female, but people tell me they are male. He who has eyes sees this, but the blind one does not understand. The poet, who is his son, has understood this well. The one who knows it would be his father's father. Beneath what is above and above what is beneath, the cow went upward, holding her calf by the foot. In what direction and to what half of the sky has she gone away? Where did she give birth? Not within the herd. Whoever here knows his father beneath what is above, and above what is beneath, who with such mystical insight can here proclaim the source from which the mind of God was born? Those that are in the future they say are in the past. Those that are in the past they say are in the future. The things that you and Indra did, Soma, still pull the axle pole of space as though yoked to it. 2 birds, friends, join together, clutch the same tree. One of them eats the sweet fruit, the other looks on without eating. Where the birds sing unblinkingly about their share of immortality among the wise, there the mighty herdsman of the whole world, the wise one. Enter me, the fool. The birds that eat honey nests and brood on that tree, on whose tip, they say, is the sweet fruit. No one who does not know the Father eats that. Only those gain immortality who know that the Gayatri foot is based on the Gayatri hymn, or that the Tristubh foot is made from the Tristubh hymn. With the Gayatri foot they fashion a hymn, with the hymn a chant, with the Tristubh foot a strophe. With the strophe of 2 feet or 4 feet, they fashion a speech. With the syllable, they fashion the 7 tones. With the jagat, he fixed the stream in the sky. In the Ratantara chant, he discovered the sun. They say the Gayatri has 3 kindling sticks, and so its power and magnificence excels. I call to the cow who is easy to milk, so that the milker with clever hands may milk her. Let Savitra 1 inspire us with the finest vigor. The pot of milk is set on the fire. This is what I would happily proclaim. The mistress of riches has come, snuffling and longing in her heart for her calf. Let this cow give milk for the Asvins, and grow greater for good fortune. The cow has lowed at her blinking calf, snuffling at his head to make him low. Longing for his warm mouth, she low sand swells with milk. The one that encloses the cow hums. She that is set over the spluttering flame lows. With her hissing she has put down the mortal. Becoming lightning, she has thrown off the cloak. Life that breathes now lies still and yet moves fast, rushing, but firmly fixed in the midst of the resting places. The life of the dead one wanders as his nature wills. The immortal comes from the same womb as the mortal. I have seen the cowherd who never tires, moving to and fro along the paths, clothing himself in those that move toward the same center but spread apart. He rolls on and on inside the worlds. He who made him knows nothing of him. He who saw him, he vanishes from him. Enclosed within the mother's womb, yet full of progeny, he entered destruction. The sky is my father. Here is the navel that gave me birth. This great earth is my mother, my close kin. The womb for me was between the 2 bowls, stretched apart. Here the father placed the embryo in the daughter. I ask you about the farthest end of the earth. I ask you about the navel of the universe. I ask you about the semen of the stallion bursting with seed. I ask you about the final abode of speech. This altar is the farthest end of the earth. This sacrifice is the navel of the universe. This soma is the semen of the stallion bursting with seed. This Brahmin priest is the final abode of speech. The 7 half embryos portion out the semen of the world at Vishnu's command. Wise in their thoughts and their heart, themselves surrounded, they surround it on all sides. I do not know just what it is that I am like. I wander about concealed and wrapped in aught. When the firstborn of order came to me, I won a share of this speech. The one who is compelled, as his own nature wills, goes away and comes back. The immortal came from the same womb as the mortal. The 2 constantly move in opposite directions. When people perceive the one, they do not perceive the other. The undying syllable of the song is the final abode where all the gods have taken their seat. What can one who does not know this do with the song? Only those who know it sit together here. Be happy eating good fodder, and then we will be happy too. O inviolable cow, eat grass and drink pure water as you graze forever. The buffalo cow lowed as she fashioned the flowing waters. She who has 1,000 syllables in the final abode became 1-footed, 2-footed. The quarters of the sky live on the oceans that flow out of her in all directions. The whole universe exists through the undying syllable that flows from her. In the distance I saw the cow dung smoke midway between what is above and what is below. The heroes roasted the dappled bull. These were the first ritual laws. The 3 long-hailed ones reveal themselves at the right moment. During the year, one of them shaves. One looks upon everything with his powers. Of one, the onrush is visible, but the form is not. Speech was divided into 4 parts that the inspired priests know. 3 parts, hidden in deep secret, humans do not stir into action. The 4th part of speech is what men speak. They call it Indra, Mitra, Varuna, Agni, and it is the heavenly bird that flies. The wise speak of what is one in many ways. They call it Agni, Yama, Mitari Sven. The yellow birds clothed in waters fly up to the sky on the dark path. They have now returned from the home of order, and at once the earth was drenched with butter. 12 fellies, 1 wheel, 3 naves. Who has understood this? 360 are set on it like poles that do not loosen. Your inexhaustible breast, Sarasvati, that flows with the food of life, that you use to nourish all that one could wish for, freely giving treasure and wealth and beautiful gifts. Bring that here for us to suck. The gods sacrificed to the sacrifice with the sacrifice. These became the first ritual laws. These great powers went to the dome of heaven, where dwell the Sadyas, the ancient gods. The same water travels up and down day after day, while the rain clouds enliven the earth, the flames enliven the sky. The great heavenly bird with wonderful wings, the beautiful embryo of the waters and the plants, that delights us with rains overflowing. I call to him for help.
The notes?
The first brother is the oblation fire with his gray beard of smoke. The second is the southern fire, hungry because it seldom receives the oblation. The third is the domestic fire that is fed the butter oblation. Agni is the lord of all tribes, and his sons are the priests. For the magic powers of the three naves, Seth, for the curing of Apala, 8.9, 1.0.7, the new-born son or fire has bones, the male element, though it is born from the boneless one, the female, who gives soft things, blood, breath, spirit, the earth. The footprints of the gods may be the sacrificial laws, which are woven when the gods as poet-priests perform the sacrifice by weaving their words. The mother of the sun is Dawn, who is pierced by her father, as well as the sun's father, the sky. Recoiling from incest, she nevertheless does what must be done, the order, and is praised for this. The calf searches for the mother who has abandoned him, as the mothers of Indra and Vivasvan, another form of the sun, abandon them in Vedic mythology. The 3 stages of the journey are 1/10 of the 30-stage journey that the sun traverses every 24 hours. Or they are the 3-day journey of the dead man, see forth 16. The 3 mothers and fathers are the 3 earths and 3 skies as parents of the sun, here identified with the absolute. Speech does not inspire every priest, though she is present in them all. The sun is imagined either as supreme in heaven or as ruling only the lower half, the upper being the abode of speech. In Vedic mythology, Aditi gives birth to the immortal Adityasan pairs, while she rejects the sun, Vivasvan, born alone. See figure 11.6. See figure 11.62.8.9. In the ritual there are 12 paired months, and dun odd 1, the intercalary month which interrupts the sequence and causes the others to change and waver. The androgyny of the creators appears on the ritual level in the fact that the months, a masculine term in Sanskrit, are procreative. The second half of the verse puns upon the father of the sun, the sky, and the father of the poet who competes with and surpasses his own father, cf 6, September 2nd, 11. The dawn cow, between sky above and earth below, has her calf at her heels as she kicks him away. She is alone because she has abandoned him. His father refers both to the poet who knows his own father and the one who knows the sun's father. The rituals of the past become the rituals of the future. The deeds of the gods still remain effective for us now. On the tree of knowledge and immortality, some eat and some cannot. Agni is the herdsman or the cowherd. These deeds are attributed to Indra, or the creator, in other hymns. The Gayatri has 3 feet, here identified with the kindling sticks of fire. Savitri, the divine obstetrician and embodiment of Twilight Seth 2.38, 1.35, is called to assist the Pravargya ritual in giving birth to the sun. The milk hissing in the pot is the dawn cow snuffling at her calf, the sun. The milk that swells in her udders, the milk that boils. The pot sings a chant, and the cow, the milk, throws off her cover, the lid, as the milk boils over. The death and rebirth of the mortal, or of the mortal sun. The resting places of the sun or fire are sky, earth, and the waters, or just the waters. The sun who disappears from the sky, his father, or the breath of life that disappears from the dead body of the mortal or the mortal sun. The 2 bowls, literally wooden bowls for Soma, are sky and earth. Scythe 1, January 21st, 160. The 7 creators or priests fashion the sun from the seed, split by the father when he incestuously embraces his daughter, or the Adityas fashion the sun from the misformed embryo, while they themselves are still embryo, surrounded in the womb. They surround, i.e. form into a ball, the semen, the soul that is reborn according to its nature, or the sun. The immortal soul/sun and the mortal body/dead sun or night are on opposite sides of the earth/mind at any given time. Here and in the next two verses, the cow is speech. Soma, explicitly mentioned in verse 35, is the bull. The final phrase also appears as October 90th, 16.25.3, forms of Agni with flames for hair, or three ecstatic sages, C45, C42-45-4. The final breakdown that follows seems to be Agni's forehead in the form of God, or ecstatic sage's skull, C40, C42-45-4, 10.1360.1. The former interpretation is supported by the second half of the verse. Fire shaves the earth, the sun watches, the wind's path is perceived, but the wind itself is invisible, cf 10.1680.4. This verse closely resembles 10.90.4-Sarasvati as goddess of speech and as the river in the sky, cf 10.39. This verse appears also as October 90th, 16.0.29. Rain falls from the sun in the sky in return for flame from the sacrifice on earth.
The horse sacrifice.
As the supreme symbol of the victorious Indo-Europeans, the horse looms large in the Rig Veda, and many gods are called horses: Indra, Dadikra, Surya, Agni, Soma, the dawn, and others. In addition to its role as signifier, however, the horse also appears as signified in a group of hymns about the sacrifice of the consecrated stallion, a ceremony that was to become the subject of far more detailed and lengthy discussion in the texts of the Brahmanas a few centuries later. The horse in the Rig Veda is at least three things at once: aerial, material creature whose domestication enabled the Indo-Aryans to conquer the Indo-European world, a racehorse that ran in profane and sacred contests, and a precious sacrificial victim. In these three hymns, the horse, in all three of these aspects, is praised, killed, and lamented.
1.163 Hymn to the Horse.
The sacrificial horse is identified with the sun and fire. Here he is also identified with several other gods as well as with the earthly racehorse, who is himself a figure with whom many gods are identified. When you whinnied for the first time, as you were born coming forth from the ocean or from the celestial source, with the wings of an eagle and the forelegs of an antelope, that, swift runner, was your great and awesome birth. Yama gave him, and Trita harnessed him. Indra was the first to mount him, and the Gandharva grasped his reins. You gods fashioned the horse out of the sun. Swift runner, you are Yama, you are Aditya, you are Trita. Through the hidden design, you are like and not like Soma. They say you have three bonds in the sky. They say you have three bonds in the sky, three in the waters and three within the ocean. And to me you appear, swift runner, like Varuna, that is said to be your highest birth. These are the places where they rubbed you down when you were victorious. Here are the marks where you put down your hooves. Here I saw your lucky reins, which the guardians of the order keep safely. From afar in my heart I recognized your soul, the bird flying below the sky. I saw your winged head snorting on the dustless paths, easy to travel. Here I saw your highest form, eager for nourishment in the place of the cow. As soon as a mortal gets the food that you enjoy, the great devourer of plants awakens him. The chariot follows you, swift runner. The young man follows. The cow follows. The love of young girls follows. The troops follow your friendship. The gods entrusted virile power to you. His mane is golden. His feet are bronze. He is swift as thought, faster than Indra. The gods have come to eat the oblation of the one who was the first to mount the swift runner. The celestial coursers, reveling in their strength, fly in a line like wild geese, the ends held back while the middle surges forward. When the horses reach the race course of the sky, your body flies, swift runner. Your spirit rushes like wind. Your mane, spread in many directions, flickers and jumps about in the forests. The racehorse has come to the slaughter, pondering with his heart turned to the gods. The goat, his kin, is led in front. Behind come the poets, the singers. The swift runner has come to the highest dwelling place, to his father and mother. May he go to the gods today and be most welcome, and then ask for the things that the worshipper wishes for.
The notes.
A possible reference to the sun born in the ocean and also born from the waters in the sky. The Vesus are a group of gods associated with the sun, perhaps the magic power of the sacrifice, or the secret power associated with the mysterious Trita, or simply the Vedic power of secret equivalences. As Agni, he is both likened to and contrasted with Soma through the mechanism of parallel oppositions and the Vedic concept of liquid fire or the fiery liquid. As a sacrificial animal, he is joined with Soma in the ritual dimension. The bonds are the three gods named in the first sentence of this verse. The three bonds are multiples of the bond in each of three places named the sky, VV3, and the highest birth in Varuna, the waters, V1. And perhaps also V5, where the gods bathe the celestial horse and the ocean, V1, and also implicit in the birth from Varuna, god of the ocean. The sun as a bird, the paths that lead to the sun, the cows won by the victorious racehorse, and as the cattle won in raids on horseback. A mysterious sentence. Agni, who devours plants in forest fires, awakens man every morning as the sun. The herbivorous horse also devours plants and is awakened every morning to be fed. The worshipper who feeds the sacrificial fire or offers oblations to the sun is awakened when he arrives in heaven. All of these are possible as the final hymn must be supplied and has no clear referent. A martial procession behind the warhorse, a sacrificial procession behind the consecrated stallion, a triumphant procession behind the racehorse. The mane, literally the horns of the horse as a metaphor for the rays of the sun. The one would be Indra, rider of the solar horse, according to verse 2, but here it would seem to designate the earthly king, the owner of the earthly horse. Here the rays are scattered by the foliage. Either a scapegoat for the sacrificial horse, see point 620.2.3, or just a companion for the racehorse, as racehorses often have goats to this day.
1.162 The Sacrifice of the Horse.
Strikingly concrete in its detail, this hymn describes the ancient Indian horse sacrifice, beginning with the ceremonial procession of the horse with the scapegoat, leading to the actual slaughter, PV 1:7. It then dwells upon the material instruments of the sacrifice which are to accompany the horse to heaven. Mitra, Varunan, Ariman the active, Indra the ruler of the Rabus, and the Maruts. 3. Let them not fail to heed us when we proclaim in the assembly the heroic deeds of the racehorse, who was born of the gods. When they lead the firmly grasped offering in front of the horse that is covered with cloths and heirlooms, the dappled goat goes bleating straight to the dear dwelling of Indra and Pusan. This goat for all the gods is led forward with the racehorse as the share for Pusan. When they lead forth the welcome offering with the charger, Tavas tarugas him on to great fame. When, as the ritual law ordains, the men circle 3 times, leading the horse that is to be the oblation on the path to the gods, the goat who is the share for Pusan goes first, announcing the sacrifice to the gods. The invoker, the officiating priest, the atoner, the fire kindler, the holder of the pressing stones, the reciter, the priest who prays, fill your bellies with this well-prepared, well-sacrificed sacrifice. The hewers of the sacrificial stake and those who carry it, and those who carve the knob for the horse's sacrificial stake, and those who gather together the things to cook the charger, let their approval encourage us. The horse with his smooth back went forth into the fields of the gods just when I made my prayer. The inspired sages exult in him. We have made him a welcome companion at the banquet of the gods. The charger's rope and halter, the reins and bridle on his head, and even the grass that has been brought up to his mouth, let all of that stay with you, even among the gods. Whatever of the horse's flesh the fly has eaten, or whatever stays stuck to the stake or the axe, or to the ands or nails of the slaughterer, let all of that stay with you, even among the gods. Whatever food remains in his stomach, sending forth gas, or whatever smell there is from his raw flesh, let the slaughterers make that well done. Let them cook the sacrificial animal until he is perfectly cooked. Whatever runs off your body when it has been placed on the spit and roasted by the fire, let it not lie here in the earth or on the grass, but let it be given to the gods, who long for it. Those who see that the racehorse is cooked, who say, "It smells good, take it away," and who wait, or the doling out of the flesh of the charger, let their approval encourage us. The testing fork for the cauldron that cooks the flesh, the pots for pouring the broth, the cover of the bowls to keep it warm, the hooks, the dishes, all these attend the horse. The place where he walks, where he rests, where he rolls, and the fetters on the horse's feet, and what he has drunk and the fodder he has eaten, let all of that stay with you even among the gods. Let not the fire that reeks of smoke darken you, nor the red-hot cauldron split into pieces. The gods receive the horse who has been sacrificed, worshipped, consecrated, and sanctified with the cry of Vasat. The cloth that they spread beneath the horse, the upper covering, the golden trappings on him, the halter and the fetters on his feet, let these things that are his own bind the horse among the gods. If someone riding you has struck you too hard with heel or whip when you shied, I make all these things well again for you with prayer, as they do with the oblations ladle and sacrifices. The axe cuts through the 34 ribs of the racehorse, who is the companion of the gods. Keep the limbs undamaged and place them in the proper pattern. Cut them apart, calling out piece by piece. 1 is the slaughterer of the horse of Tavast, 2 restrain him. This is the rule. As many of your limbs as I set out, according to the rules, so many balls I offer into the fire. Let not your dear soul burn you as you go away. Let not the axe do lasting harm to your body. Let no greedy, clumsy slaughterer hack in the wrong place and damage your limbs with his knife. You do not really die through this, nor are you harmed. You go to the gods on paths pleasant to go on. The 2 bay stallions, the 2 roan mares, are now your chariot mates. The racehorse has been set in the donkey's yoke. Let this racehorse bring us good cattle and good horses, male children and all nourishing wealth. Let oddity make us free from sin. Let the horse with our offerings achieve sovereign power for us.
The notes.
This may be an epithet of Vayu or Agni, or the name of a distinct god, or an epithet of Aryaman. The arbus are the craftsmen of the gods. This may be a list of 5 gods or of 7, depending upon whether one takes the adjectival terms as epithets or separate name. Sayana says the horse was born from the essential forms of many gods, a common form of mythological creation. This almost certainly refers to the goat, though the commentary suggests that it might be the remains of the burnt offering made the night before. The invoker is the Hatra priest, often identified with Agni. Sayana point 0.0.7.0. This term may designate the priest who portions out the offerings, or the one who performs expiations for ritual errors or personal misdeeds. Cephas v. 17. Here, as in verse 1, there may be 5 or 7 terms, depending upon whether one takes the adjectival terms here, the 3rd and 7th, as descriptions or separate titles. A piece of wood attached crosswise at the top of the stake. These utensils would be the pot, the wood, etc. Here the horse is directly addressed. The soul calls out, prosperi, and the horse says that the horse will be made whole. See the same as one feels, and properly cooked. 10.6.1.2. These are the priests who eat the horse. The Sefer Garret, the cry that is made when the offering is presented to the gods. Sefer Garret .1.3.3 for the use of Svaha, a similar call. The Brahmins who repair the errors committed in the course of the sacrifice. 34 of the horse's ribs, he has 36, are distributed, 1 to the sun, 1 to the moon, 5 to the planets, and 27 to the constellations. The priest names each part as he cuts it, and declares the divinity to whom it is dedicated. These are probably balls of rice that the wives of the king give to the stallion. They may also be balls of meat. That is, do not be sad. The 2 bay stallions are the horses of Indra, the 2 roan mares the horses of the Maruts, and the donkey belongs to the Asvins. This is both a general wish for expiation and a specific wish to be cleansed of the sin of killing the horse.
10.56 Requiem for a Horse.
This hymn is a funerary farewell to a beloved horse. Against this interpretation, later Indian commentarial tradition suggested that the subject of the hymn was the poet's dead son, called Victorious Racehorse, Vaje, and it is worthy of note that the horse is said to travel to heaven, put on a new body, and dwell happily there afterwards, just as the dead man does in another hymn. 10.14. But the equine character of the verses is unmistakable. The hymn may refer to a particular ritual, possibly even to the immolation of a sacred horse. Verse 3 opens with the exact phrase used at the beginning of the horse sacrifice. It may also be based upon the deification of a great racehorse, as is suggested by the hymn's recurring use of the metaphor of winning heaven as one wins a race. Though here it must be noted that the Rig Veda often refers to other goals: wealth, sons, long life, one as one wins a race. 0.1. The idea of a hymn to a horse is not in itself un-Vedic. The Rig Veda knows other divine horses, such as Dadikra, Tartsya, and Eta. The horses of heaven are obliquely alluded to in verse 4, where they are said to have more powers than the fathers, and to have been given special mental power by the gods before taking on their heavenly bodies. Verse 5 may even imply that all living creatures are somehow bound to or encompassed by the powers of these celestial equines, who gallop around a racecourse made of the space between sky and earth. Verse 1:5a described the horse's translation heaven, where he is given a new body, gathering into it the qualities that it had one earth. Verse 4. He changes into this body as the sun changed its form. Verse 2. The sun is also alluded to as the light beyond. Verse 1. Mediating between the light here, fire, probably the funeral pyre, and the third light, the light in the world of the dead, the God who finds the light. Verse 6 may also be the sun. It may, however, be the spirit who leads the horse to the world of the dead, the third light. In general, the term often refers to Agni, Soma, or the fathers, any of whom would be appropriate here. The final verses speak of the body in more general terms, contrasting the body put on in heaven with the body left on earth in the form of offspring. This is your one light, and there beyond is your other. Merge with the third light. By merging with a body, grow lovely, dear to the gods in the highest birthplace. Victorious racehorse, let your body, carrying a body, bring blessings to us and safety to you. Staying straight so that you may carry the great gods, change your own light as one does in heaven. You are a victorious racehorse with the power to win victory. Go happily to the mares who long for you. Go happily to fame and heaven. Go happily to the first orders and truths. Go happily to the gods. Go happily to your flight. Even the fathers have no control over their majesty. The gods have placed the power of understanding in the gods. They have gathered together all things that shine, and these have entered their bodies again. With their great powers, they have circled all the middle realm of space, measuring out ancient domains never measured before. All creatures are bound to their bodies. They shower down their offspring in many ways. By the third action, and in two ways, the sons have set in place the God who finds the light. The fathers have established their own offspring as paternal power, like a thread stretched out among those who are to follow. As if on a ship sailing through high water to all horizons of the earth, crossing over all dangers with ease, Bredukta has through his great power established his own offspring among those who are to follow, and those who have come before.
The notes.
DF, especially the racehorses of dawn, 1.920.7. The image of the horse carrying a rider, a body carrying a body, suggests the fire carrying the dead body to heaven and going on, VF3, to carry the oblation to the gods. CF. Agni, the horse, as the conveyor in 1.26.1, 5.2.1, and 10.5.0.6%. Both straight on the path, and with a straight E, uncollapsed back under the weight. They are the horses. The shining things enter the horses' bodies, as the God-inspired powers enter their minds. The gods in heaven give inspiration to the gods newly made, the horses who succeed in reaching heaven. This may refer to the heavenly horses of verses 4 to 5, or imply that each creature is bound to his own body. The third action is the begetting of children, the debt each Hindu must pay to the fathers, the first two debts being Vedic study, paid to the sages, and sacrifice paid to the gods. The two ways may refer to sons and fathers, achieving their end sun earth by children, and in heaven by ritual. The sun is here called an asura, an ancient god, name of the sage to whom the hymn is attributed.
Gods of the sacrifice, Agni and Soma.
Agni and Soma are linked in many ways. As fire and liquid, they are complementary oppositions that unite in the Indo-European concept of the fiery liquid, the elixir of immortality. the ambrosia. As ritual elements, they are invoked more often than any other gods of the Rig Veda, as the embodiments of the sacrificial fire and the sacrificial drink. Metaphorical symbols, they are the center of a complex set of speculations about the nature of the cosmos, taking the form of riddles about something that is lost and then found. The mythologies differ in that the mystery of Agni is the mystery of his birth, as well as of his rebirth when he leaves the gods and must be brought back, while the mystery of Soma is the mystery of his descent from heaven. These mythologies join in the image of the sunbird, a form of Agni, the Indo-European firebird, who brings the Soma to earth, FC 10.123 and 10.177. The mysteries are questions posed and answered, for Agni and Soma are the two sources of the inspiration that enables the Vedic poet to find and understand the meaning of the sacrifice and of his life. They are different sorts of inspiration. Agni is Apollonian, explaining the sacrifice. He represents the cultivated, cooked, cultured aspects of ritual. Soma is Dionysian, explaining the vision of life. He represents the wild, raw, disruptive aspects of ritual. The Vedic sacrifice embraces them both. Agni is the subject of many straightforward hymns about the kindling of and offering into the fire. He is invoked to bring all the gods to the sacrifice, 1.1.6, and to mediate between gods and men, 1.26. But several of the hymns to Agni are more enigmatic than paradigmatic. His birth, 5.2, is described in purposely elliptic references, similar to those used to refer to Agni in the riddle of the sacrifice, 1.1.64 cf. Also 3.3, 10.1. This first appearance of Agni is then linked to subsequent appearances after he has been lost, occasions when he hides, 10.5, usually in the waters, 10.51, the place of his birth, 2.35, or in the body of the arch-enemy of the gods, 10.124. The birth and recovery of Agni are two aspects of a great mystery, 4.5, that Agni himself inspires the poet to solve, 6.9.
1.1 I pray to Agni.